Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Shared Discovery, the show and podcast dedicated to sharing all the exciting and enjoyable aspects of games and gaming. I'm your host, Victor. Today I'm once again joined by my co-host, Ron.
That's me.
How you doing?
I'm good, Victor. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. What have you been up to since the last show?
Getting a lot of good walks in, checking out nature preserves, and playing card games. How about yourself?
Actually the same. Yeah?
All right.
I did legs last night, did some exercise, went on like a 2-hour walk at Millennium Park. That was sweet. And you know what's funny? Today we're talking about Magic, and I haven't even played Magic recently.
Same, yeah.
I thought about it a lot. But I haven't played it, yeah.
It's always in the back of my mind.
It's always there, right? So we actually played a different card game. We played a deck building game, Behexed. Fantastic. That was super cool. I'm really excited to learn the ins and outs of that game.
Is that another Kickstarter game?
It actually is a Kickstarter game. So again, what we talked about, Kickstarter, high variance, right? We have some kind of rushed out, some, that they didn't put too much time into it, but the art, but this one feels like mechanics first.
Yeah, solid, very solid.
Yeah, so that actually kept us from playing Magic. But today, we're going to talk about Magic. We've played enough Magic to be able to talk about it for hours. I think it's about time. We have mentioned it every single episode in some capacity. And so today we're going to do that. We're going to dive in. We're going to give you the reasons why we think it's worth playing Magic, why we play Magic, why we think everyone should play Magic.
Everyone should play Magic.
Everyone.
Yeah. And right off the bat, this is not an advertisement for Magic?
No, not at all.
You know?
We're not sponsored. We just love Magic. Yeah. A lot. And while we're in the disclaimer phase, Magic can be expensive. And I say can be, right? Because there are formats and there are ways to play cheaper forms of Magic, right? So it can be. So right out of the gate, know that. Some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about might add up, but we're going to also highlight some of the ways that you can play on a budget. So I got a question for you, Ron.
Oh, hit me with it.
What is your first memory of Magic?
My first memory of Magic, probably playing it on the carpet on the floor in the childhood home in the living room, just playing with the random cards that we got in packs, because I don't know, somebody at school must have said it was cool or something, or my brother was teaching me, but we got these starter sets, these starter packs. It was like, I don't even know, early 2000s, right? So, it was a real foggy memory, but I just remember having a bunch of green cards.
Okay, green was your first experience with it.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. That's interesting. I don't see you as a green player now, so it didn't make the impression on you. Okay. That's interesting. My first experience was with red. Red's my favorite color to play now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know how it led to this, but I remember the exact memory. 6th grade, Michael Mueller walks up to me, hands me a mountain, and he's like, "Here, dude, thought you might want this." And I was like, "What is it?" He's like, "Figure it out." And just walks away. I was like, did that even happen?
Figure it out.
And I stared at it, and I'm like, this art's so cool. What does this symbol mean? And I, 6th grade, I'm making all these scenarios, trying to figure out how the game works. Yeah. And then you and I started hanging out, and you're like, dude, I have those. So we started playing them in your basement, right? That was the first time I actually played Magic. Was with you. Yeah.
That's great.
You still have that bin that we played with.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. That was my first memory, and that it printed on me. But I just have this bowl, I can remember the card. I should have figured out exactly which mountain it was. No, it was white border. No, I think it was 7th edition, 2002, somewhere that era, but didn't print it on me, and had wonderful experience ever since. So let's get into it.
I'd never heard that story before.
You really? Yeah, that's awesome.
It's good to hear.
Because I remember bringing out your bin, and we'd just do stupid random drafts in those games. Those decks were terrible. We were playing very wrong, but we were having a great time. So we're going to dive in now. Most of this episode isn't going to be about how to play the game. There are a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube videos on how to play the game, but we're going to give just a brief history right now on what Magic is.
Right.
For starters, it's not just Magic. It's called Magic the Gathering. And Magic the Gathering is a tabletop and now a digital card game created by Richard Garfield, first released by Wizards of the Coast August 5th, 1993.
93. I was 1 year old that year.
Magic predates me by 3 months.
Oh.
Yes. So, turning 30 this year. I'm turning 29 this year. But it's a game with longevity, is what that tells you.
Yes.
There's a reason why it's been played. So what is it? In the game, it's played by 2 or more players who take on the role of powerful wizards that are called planeswalkers in this game.
Okay.
So the flavor is that the planeswalkers can walk or travel through the dimensions, and Magic lore are called the planes. Planes walking, planeswalker. Right.
And the planes are different worlds and different realities, and yeah.
And the game is made up of a multiverse. So every single set is set in a different dimension. Each dimension, each plane will have a whole different culture. Right? And a lot of the cultures are inspired by real world things, which we'll get into later. But there's Greek and horror, right?
My favorite
real
part.
world inspirations, right? And the game actually was originally inspired by D&D. So the first couple sets you'll see like direct references to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and a lot of the characters that show up in early Magic feel like they are just somebody's Dungeons and Dragons character.
Which is hilarious, because they are.
Yeah.
Right? The first few sets were just setting the baseline for the game, getting cards out of there. And then in 1994, a set Legends came out. And that introduced the concept of legendary creatures, cards that you can have one of on the battlefield. The rules have changed over time, if you can have one in your deck, one on the battlefield, but they're powerful creatures that are named and can be one of in some capacity. So the first ones that existed were the designer's actual Dungeons and Dragons characters, a lot of them.
Yeah, I think Arkham Dagsum comes to mind.
I actually don't know that one.
You don't know that?
I know the card, but I don't know if that's inspired by it. So it's like those really bad gold-colored, multicolored cards. So anyway, derailing here. So it was made to be played between D&D sessions, right? Shorter sessions. And how you do that is players take on the role of a planeswalker with a deck built with cards of 5 different colors that exist in the game. So you have white, blue, black, red, and green. And so if you look on the back of a card, if you ever forget these, it's right on the back of a Magic card here. And the order of the cards is listed there too, with these little small colored orbs. White, blue, black, red, and green. Start at the top, go clockwise. That's the order that the cards will always be listed in. So you do battle as a planeswalker. You use these resources called lands to cast spells, artifacts, summon creatures, and ultimately try to get your opponent's life total from anywhere from 20 to 40 down to 0 using these spells.
All right, yeah.
So that's the main way to lose, right? Creatures will have a power and toughness and power to punch you in the face.
Yep.
Wizards can throw spells, fireballs at you. If you get to 0, you lose. You were the lesser planeswalker. And there is an alternate way to win the game. If someone tries to draw from an empty deck, you also lose, right? Your memory's gone. You got nothing else in your deck. No spells to work with. Your library's empty.
You're banished. You're gone.
So that's a broad overview of the game. When you play a game, it's going to be 1v1 all the way up to free-for-all. There's all kinds of different formats, which we will get into. They each have different restrictions on what you can put in your deck, but we're going to get into that, right? Because like we said, we're not going to dive into a lot of detail about how to play the game. We're going to talk about why. And I think the really good starting point, why, is the color pie philosophy. So tell us a little bit about what the color pie philosophy is. Where does that come from?
So the color pie philosophy and mechanics all interplay together, right? It's these colors, and then what do these colors mean, and what do they signify to sort of represent ideological factions within the game itself. They also represent a kind of culture within the game as well, because different players flock to different colors depending on those ideological factions.
Absolutely.
And, well, with that in mind, then it also creates these relationships between the colors, even just their placement in the circle with the white at the top.
Absolutely.
And as it goes around the robin here, around this color pie.
Yeah, when you flip it over and you look at a color, so white at the top here, the colors next to it, those are the allies. They're going to have certain ideological similarities.
Stronger connections.
And then across from them are the enemies. They're gonna, I don't agree with how you play the game, how you view life.
Exactly. Right? And to start us off, we can just start right at the top with the first offering here.
Absolutely.
You want to take it away?
So the first color in the game, in order, Wooburg order, as it's called, is white. So white is the color of peace, law, structure, selflessness, and equality. So, and what's really cool about these colors is that they're often applied to characters in the game and other characters in other fiction as well. So what you see about white is that it puts the value in the group, the community, in its civilization. They're focused on organization, right? So the ultimate goal for white is peace, a world where there's no unnecessary suffering. Key word, unnecessary, right? Because white is often associated with fairness or justice, but left unchecked, if everyone's not working together towards the same goal that white deems as the important goal, right, it can become totalitarian, inflexible, and capable of sacrificing a small group of people for the sake of the larger significance, right?
Exactly. A little Aristotelian, a little taxes, fairness is everybody gets what they deserve, not an equal share type of a thing.
Absolutely. And so it makes use of and puts a value into a lot of like these broad concepts of like order and uniformity, structure, as we were talking about, right? And ultimately it has this belief that social organization is the most important and the common good is the most important. What you'll see across all of these colors, pros and cons, right? So a lot of people view like this morality as good, right? The good color. But you see that there are also weaknesses to color. There's another side to it. And what I've really found fascinating in learning about this is that there are mono-white villains and mono-white heroes, right? So it's the spectrum here. And so what you'll see is that these philosophies are represented in how white plays the game. So they'll prevent damage and gain life to help you to protect its people, to survive longer, right? And total protection. It can give specific pieces on your board protection from other people's effects. You're part of our society, we'll protect you, right? And then it has smaller creatures. And so in Magic, the smallest creature is a 1/1, and on average, like a 10/10 is really big.
Really big.
Right.
Yeah.
So in white, you'll see creatures mostly from 1/1 to a 3/3, that range. And that's because it puts more stakes in the small, in the units, and how each unit can work together to make it stronger.
Teamwork is a big theme.
Yes, absolutely. And it also does rule setting, taxing. So in Magic, you draw cards. Why I say, well, you can draw one a turn. We're going to have a fair game. You can draw one a turn. Or taxing effects. You can play spells. It's going to cost a little more. That's the law we got to live by to have a fair game.
Yep.
It has artifact or enchantment destruction, which are certain card types in the game. And it's like people are getting out of hand, worshiping false idols, as it would say. Like, smash it, get it out of here. It likes balance and uniformity, which means there's literally a card called balance, right? Okay, we're all going to have the same amount of resources now. And sometimes it takes it too far and says, we're going to all have no resources. There are cards that destroy all of the resources, all of the lands, all of the creatures.
Soul Scour. Yeah, anything with a soul, get it out of here.
Get it out of here. It has peacemaking. It's like, we don't like unnecessary combat, so there are cards that say, that creature can't attack or block, just relax.
Pacifism.
But it's good, it knows that combat's important, so it has things with superior combat. So cards that can do their damage first strike, attack first, right? At vigilance, it can attack and then be ready to defend.
Yep, training is also a big part of that as well.
Exactly, and then there's mechanics called total defense, where like if you attack it first, it's ready to respond. So cards that say like, deal this much damage to a creature that attacked you, exile this creature that attacked you. Things like all right, you asked for it. Right? I'm gonna defend myself. And some of the characters in fiction that you'll see that represent this ideology is like Superman or Captain America, these paragon characters that are always thinking about the greater good.
Interesting.
So that's mono white.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to blue now. Tell us about what is blue.
All right. Now that we've got the goody two shoes laid out of the way, right, is moving on to the more serious magic here, in my opinion.
Serious bits.
Yeah, blue is the knowledge-seeking, the deceitful, but not straight up lying, hedging our bets.
Bluffing.
Bluffing.
Let's talk about bluffing.
Bluffing, revisiting something we've talked about before. Being cautious and deliberate, never moving without cause or without... never moving with wasted energy, and seeking a type of perfection, all-knowing. It manifests in like how it sees the world is that it seeks that perfection. It seeks the opportunity to achieve, figuring out what one could achieve with the right education and figuring out the experience and the tools and the education needed to actually create the perfect
What do
world.
I need to know to be perfect?
Right. It's got a little bit of that purity that white has going on there. You see, like, oh, a perfect world. What does that mean? Oh, purify
I gotta
things
know
a little bit, right?
everything so I can know
Pure
what
water.
perfect means.
Exactly. Yeah. Life is life is constant discovery to the blue color. You're always searching for more knowledge, or searching through the knowledge you know for the knowledge that you need, and that also means seeking to better yourself. Comes from a place of what's called tabula rasa, which is the idea that everyone is born a blank slate with absolutely no preconceived notion of the world, and that we're all just kind of programmed.
You put your mind to it, you can become whatever you want. That's blue.
Yep. As long as you got the right start and with the right resources and everything going right for you, you can be the most right person in the world, right? Blue seeks to understand everything. I think we've mentioned this with the knowledge for true comprehension, and can only improve one's effectiveness in any task. They just want to be better, constantly seeking better. I feel like, again, relates to white with training.
Absolutely.
And training is something blue is all about. It's methodical, it's logical, and it considers all the options before rushing in. And
like a weakness of that, right? One of the weaknesses to these is it can, because it wants all of the options first, it can be slow to act.
Very slow to act.
Very slow to act.
Maybe not slow in like doing things like looking for knowledge, but then trying to find the right answer might take you a while, right?
Things might happen before you can choose what you were going to do. So that is a weakness of a true blue character. It's like, okay, I have to pick the perfect option first.
Yes. And the downside is you can be racked by indecision very easily.
That's a great way to put it.
Just overwhelmed with options, so which option is the best one? But working through that is a part of being a blue player as well, is just, this is my experience, this is my learning, I can be better than this. And some mechanics that go along with blue is card draw, looking for knowledge,
I
right?
need to know more, right?
I need to know more. Counter spells is, oh, I know what you're going to do right now. I've seen into the future. It's like divination. I'm going to stop that. You don't get to do that anymore. And mimicry, copying things. I know what that is. I want more of it because it's pretty cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's better. Maybe I could do it too.
I can do it better.
Better.
Yeah.
And that's cool. You'll see this in like clone cards, right? That comes down, copies someone else's creature. And there's even clones that'll come down bigger than that creature that it copied.
Yes,
right?
please.
So
give me more.
mimicry, but better.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And a big part of that would be like, oh, I can mimic it, but I can also return things to your hand. So that's part of that control, part of that knowledge of like methodically determining like, oh, this isn't what I want. So you should just take that back, and then I will have an opening, and I will create a perfect world where I can do what I want.
And blue, the flavor of this is like blue knows time, knows how to manipulate time the best. So you played a creature, okay, get it back, you can play it later. Let's rewind a little.
And then that takes us to tapping and untapping permanents. So tapping is something in the game that just happens with a lot of actions where you just turn a card sideways, and that signifies that it's used up, right? It's used up. And so blue can just use up other people's resources before they can use them in a, not necessarily like a positive fashion, but usually in an even exchange, but then it provides an opening for blue.
It does, yeah. It gives it an opening to get in, and since it knows so much about its cards, the working of cards, it can untap its resources sometimes to be able to make use of them again. I know what you need to be able to use you again.
And one of my favorite effects is blue is really good at stealing. That's part of that trickery, being devious part. And
I'll take that.
Trickery. Oh, you thought you were going to use that on me? No, I'm actually going to use that on you, because the small-minded creatures don't hold any sway in my world. And trickery effects, combat trickery, reality changing.
Yeah, exactly. So like the combat trickery would be able to be like, I know where you're gonna be, so my creature is unblockable. That's what you'll see in blue. I know where you're gonna be, so I can attack you directly.
Dodging around, flying.
Flying, you'll see that a lot too. Hexproof, meaning that your cards can't target this creature. I know how to defend about anything you're gonna throw at me.
And that's blue, perfect defense, right? And what do we have next? Black?
We have black. Black is the color of power, self-interest, death, sacrifice, and uninhibitedness.
Ooh.
Practiced that word a couple times.
That's
a good word.
It's a really good word.
I want to use that more.
I am uninhibitedness.
Absolutely. I don't think I embody this, but I want to. It's the color that says the only measure of what is right or wrong is whether or not the approach leads to success.
Ooh.
It's not morality, immorality, it's amorality.
Amorality.
I'm going to do what I need to achieve whatever my version of success is.
Morality is just words.
Whatever.
It doesn't exist.
It understands the value of selfishness, not selfless, selfish. I'm going to open myself up to opportunities that some might think taboo, that white aligned people might not use, right? But if it helps me succeed, gets me to my goal, I'm not worried about undeath. I'm not worried about torment or infection or betrayal, right? It's all about succeeding in whatever the black aligned character defines it as.
Yes, please.
Because they want to ensure their own well-being, even at the expense of others. Because in their mindset, anything else allows other people to do it to them.
It's a very like anti-hero and villain mentality, I feel like.
They're very cynical. Black aligned characters, they have a very cynical worldview, and that's at the core of their philosophy, right? But even beyond that, they value self-determination, self-love, self-reliance, and just being released from society's imposed limits.
Yes, please.
Let me be what I want to be, how I want to do it. And so the lack of ethical restraint can result in tragedy, not, like you said, the villain or the anti-hero, but it can also be selfishness can be do a lot of good in the world, right? If it's focused in the right direction, right? So especially when it's coupled with this self-growth mindset that black-aligned characters have, right? Self-growth, my individual rights. And so what does that look like in mechanics? What that looks like in mechanics is I'm going to use any resource that I have. And that means I am really good at removing creatures on the board. Get out of the way. I have no qualms of it. If you're in my way, you're stopping me from succeeding, I can remove those. I can destroy those creatures. There's a card called Murder. It says destroy a creature.
Yep.
Right? That's a black card. It says calling the weak. And these are effects that say target player, destroy target creature with the lowest power. That's the weakest, get it out of here.
We don't like weak people,
Get it out
or
of
weak cards.
Or sacrificing a creature to get resources out of them.
Yeah, even sacrificing your own life forces to get resources.
Exactly, and that's kind of like that for card advantage. So in the game, the way that one of the main resources is cards in your hand. So how many you have to use, right? So black's not afraid to make these bargains, use its own life force to get ahead, get that advantage, get more cards in its hand. It's also not afraid of malaise. And this is kind of like the infection we were talking about, the disease. So that what you'll see is it'll shrink creatures' power and toughness, just slowly weakening them down, making it easier for us to overtake them.
Yeah.
Right, and parasitism. It can heal by draining your opponents, draining the creatures. Cloak and dagger effects, right? So it can get in with death touching. Creatures that know where to stab you. Creatures
Critical spot.
Or it uses scary things that have abilities like intimidate or fear or menace, right? You can block me, you can stop me, but you gotta have something just as scary, or you gotta have a lot of guys. Necromancy, we talked about, I'm gonna bring back my creatures to my hand, to the battlefield. I'm gonna bring back your creatures, I liked that. That's kind of a way that black can steal in a way too. And then the Faustian bargain. Faustian bargain. Yeah. This is a writing trope, a story in which
German myth,
in which a character will make a bargain with Faust will make a bargain with a powerful being to get power very quickly, get strong very quickly. And what that looks like in Magic is deals with demons. So one of the first demons in the game, Pit Lord.
Ooh.
It's a 7/7 flying demon that says each turn you have to sacrifice a creature or it does 7 damage to you. Very powerful, doing 7 damage. Remember, if your life total's 20, that's a huge chunk. But you got to keep the Pit Lord happy, and there's a lot of cards.
Feed him,
you gotta feed that.
And there's even ways to benefit off of that sacrifice.
Absolutely, and that's the goal of set up these scenarios where you're benefiting from everything. So that's black. Tell us about red.
Oh, red is one of my personal favorites. This is your freedom. This is your fire. This is your emotion, your action, your impulse. Like, you ever had a really passionate conversation? You've ever had a hug with somebody after a long time away, or you've ever just been so angry that you need to destroy something. Destruction is a huge motivator.
Freedom.
Passion and freedom.
I want to rewind a little bit. We didn't talk about characters that exist in blue and black.
Oh, all right.
Fantasy characters.
Yeah, let's slow our roll.
So just like rewinding a little bit. So blue, a couple of characters that we identified was Spock from Star Trek.
Yeah.
And
I like Data more, but Spock's
like Data? Does Data fit that role too, do you think?
Very much so, yeah.
Just acquiring knowledge to understand what I need to do to fit in this world.
Yeah, that's Data.
That's Data, right? And then you have Reed Richards or Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four.
Right.
And he has stories all the time, like in action, because I need to learn, I need all of the options. Right? And so that's blue. And then mono black, I just wrote Sauron. Think about Lord of the Rings, the big bad, the evil. I'm gonna conquer the world by any means necessary.
He uses magical rings to enslave the other races of dwarves and men and bend them to his will and raises armies of orcs. What's more cynical?
Yeah,
And
exactly. So that's mono black. So I wanted to touch on
Yes.
that a little bit before we move forward. We'll make sure to touch on red and green characters as we go. So red, freedom.
red, freedom, action, destruction, all that good stuff, right? Above all else, red values freedom, hands down.
Hands down.
It wants to do what it wants and when it wants to and to whom it wants to. Absolute freedom. All you have to do is listen to your heart and simply act accordingly, letting your emotions guide you.
You know, what I do and might seem chaotic, but you just don't understand what's in my heart.
I couldn't have said it better.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't understand me, bro.
Yeah, the color of immediate action and immediate gratification, which, ooh, that's fun. And if it wants something, it will act on those impulses and take it regardless of consequences. On the other hand, red may also seek to make amends, apologize. It embraces relationships, and knows passion and loyalty and camaraderie play into that.
Absolutely, because it's trying to experience all of its emotions to the fullest. So it's going to experience love to the fullest just as much, right? So it's going to be it's a very loyal color.
Yeah, just peak in all of these emotional categories. When I'm angry, I'm destructively angry. When I'm in a relationship, I am 100% that relationship and nothing else. In general, red sees the concept of external order of any kind as pointless and inhibiting, holds them back, believing that only by embracing anarchy, true chaos, can everyone really be free to enjoy life to the maximum with no regrets.
Be yourself, uninhibited. It's similar overlaps with black in that regard.
Couldn't be easier. Couldn't be easier.
Couldn't be
Just be
easier.
yourself.
Be
You
yourself.
know? What's that advice everyone's always saying? Just be yourself.
Be yourself.
Why are you trying to be something else?
That's a red motto.
Yeah. It's and the mechanics that characterize red in the game are what we call burn effects, and that's just a fancy way of saying doing damage in exchange for mana, just like at a 1-to-1 rate.
I don't have time to think about a
Nope.
strategy.
Not gonna
kill
think.
you as fast as possible. I'm gonna throw fireballs at him. I'm gonna throw lightning, whatever it is. I'm gonna shock you.
Yep. And all the things you care about, I'm going to destroy those. So it has artifact and land destruction as well. Oh, you want to use your resources to create a better world? Well, I'm just going to burn down the world around you.
That's the chaotic side of it, right?
It's all about aggressive creatures, martial superiority, so it wants them big, it wants them fast, gambits and short-term mana acceleration really play well together, so you have temporary draw card effects where
Use it now or you lose it.
it's gone. You know, same with the mana acceleration. Is other colors get it and keep it. This is I get it, I use it, or it's gone, just
Outta
like
here.
card tricks. And randomness and trickery go hand in hand. Like, how do you know me if I don't even know myself?
Exactly. A prankster. So it's a prankster color, right?
Yeah, that's what we love is the gambles, okay, take all your cards and swap them, you
The
know?
warp world. There's a card literally called Scrambleverse where everyone is randomly assigned everything on the board. Chaos.
It's
Whatever,
chaos.
let's see what happens. maybe I like something different. Let's shake it up.
Yeah, see what happens.
See what happens.
And that's just the wildfire of red. A character that really signifies red is, if you watch One Piece, the main character, Luffy, is freedom-loving beyond all else and has really strong relationships and connections with the other characters that are his pride and joy, and he holds above everything.
Oh,
including,
absolutely.
like, his
And
own
not
freedom.
everyone has watched One Piece, but I've watched a lot of it, and
It's popular.
it's very popular. And Luffy identifies his core mantra from like the first 3 episodes. Like, why do you want to be a pirate? Because I want to do what I want without being told. I want to live my life to the fullest.
Man, I love pirates.
It's fantastic, and that core identity, 1,000+ episodes later, is carried through with Luffy. All of it. He's If he's hungry, he needs to eat now. If he's happy, he's laughing jovially. If he's angry, he's gonna punch you in the face. He doesn't care how strong you are. He's not a blue character. He's not thinking about how strong you are. He's gonna punch you in the face. He doesn't care if you're some lord and there's repercussions for punching you in the face. If you're getting in the way of my freedom, he's gonna do it. So, red.
No forethought.
No.
All right now.
Let's go. And
all or nothing.
adds a lot of conflict with this crew, too. Like, stop, Luffy. Every single arc. It's like, all right, guys, what's the plan? And then they turn, Luffy's gone. He's already out there.
He's having fun, seeking his
that's
freedom.
That's the most quintessential red character I could think of.
Okay. Right on.
Send it?
Yeah, let's get it.
Oh, no. Wow, miserable.
You know, any pirate, Stede Bonnet, Blackbeard, like, they're in the same boat. Like, Luffy's just, like, an archetype that is the most pirate you could ever pirate.
Oh, absolutely. He's, like, most red. And what you'll see is a lot of characters exhibit colors of multiple colors, right? Overlapping colors, but Luffy's just red. And like Blackbeard from One Piece, I would say, is black red.
Ooh.
He's a lot sketchier, right?
Yeah.
So, moving forward,
The next
moving
one.
into green.
This is our last color.
This is the last color, right? I think this color actually embodies the be yourself,
Ooh.
which we'll get into in a second. But green is the color of nature, wildlife, connection, spirituality, and tradition. Green loves the world the way it is because it's convinced that nature has already gotten everything right.
It's like pure nature.
Pure nature.
Pure nature.
It's got it fundamentally right. All it needs is the time and the opportunity to grow into its further perfection. It's already perfect.
It's already perfect.
Just give it time to become more perfect. And so green wants to coexist with the ecosystems instead of changing them, regulating, norming, or taking advantage of them.
Right.
Why do we need to do those things if nature already got it right? So green's all about obeying your instincts, right? It's the best way to exist. So be yourself, right? And so it sees itself as part of the ecosystem and as having a responsibility to protect it and preserve it. So it's gonna smash the things that are interfering with the ecosystem. It favors a simplistic way of living, being in harmony and communication with the natural world. It's often perceived as the pacifist color because of the green characters where it might just hide in nature. They'll be like hermits. You'll see like
Smash.
that, right? You'll think of that. So they often are perceived as pacifists. Actually.
Really?
But they're fierce when threatened. So there's
there it is.
It's when they're threatened, they're gonna fight back.
Passive aggressive type of
So
thing.
what they'll do, I think about one of the original Magic stories of Urza and Mishra, two of the main characters that have set
From
up
the
everything.
books. Deep
from the
lore
books.
for the lore heads.
They're fighting, they're doing their white, blue, red, black stuff, and there's a whole island of druid elves. This island's never been touched. They don't have any reason to come out. They coexist with nature. These two show up on the island, start destroying it, they fight back, and they fight back hard. Right? They can be aggressive if their if the instincts dictate it, right? So they believe, and this is why I said that be yourself is probably represented really well in green, because it believes that individuals are each born with a purpose. It's imprinted into our genes and interconnected with the physical and spiritual worlds. It's our job to figure out what that genetic purpose is and be yourself.
Very fate driven, very much, yeah.
Very, predetermined, fate driven, right? Where Blue's like deterministic, is that the word? No, messing this up. But
that's all right.
Blue's all about let me figure it out, tabula rasa. Green's like it's already determined, so why am I trying to figure out? Why am I trying to fight nature?
Why are you asking
So those two
questions?
clash a lot, right?
Just live in the forest, eat meat, drink milk. What are you doing?
What are you doing? So green believes that every individual organism is part of the bigger picture. Nature, the tapestry of life, destiny, but the individuals may get caught up in the details to see that, to see how we're interwoven together.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah.
So the mechanics that you'll see with green is big creatures. We were talking about like the 1 to 10-10, right? Green will have creatures that are 12-12s or 13-13, 14, huge.
Absurd.
It has the highest amount of big, chunky creatures.
Big worms.
Because it
big
knows how to
trees.
commune and
Yep.
work with nature. So in that regard, it has a lot of token creatures, creatures that get made throughout the game, and it's because it knows how to, grow as a community, a natural community, and it knows how to pump or increase the power and draw out the natural gifts of its creatures.
Yeah.
Right? So that would look like giving a creature +1/1 counter. It's things that stay on a card and give it a permanent effect, or give it +3/3, a temporary effect. Right? It has like instinct attacks. It knows how to trample over you. It knows how to
I love
threat, force you to attack me, which are called lure effects. Like, I'm going to attack this turn, you have to block me. Look at how scary I am. Right? It has natural evasion, meaning like it knows how to make poisons. Right? It knows how to prevent its creature from getting hit by certain magics. And natural blessings, right? Again, back into that death touch from the poisons, right?
If you protect nature, it will protect,
It protects you back, right? And has mana acceleration. So mana is the main resource you use to play spells. Green knows how to get the most out of mana out of the land.
It's already there. It is the land. It's all on the land. It loves the land.
And every card that you play will have a cost that requires certain colors, right? And so it knows how to do what is called mana fixing. It's the best color that knows how to access other colors. So it can change the colors. It knows all of the land. It knows the islands, the mountains, the swamps, the plains.
Tune with nature,
Yes.
so you know where to
And
go find
I
nature.
already touched on this. It'll destroy the artifacts and enchantments.
It's unnatural. It's
Boom. Get
tainting.
out of my list.
Yes.
And so the quintessential character we thought about before this was Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy, that's the DC, right?
That's the DC villain. And her
Batman.
core motto is like, you're ruining the world. I'm gonna use these powers I have to stop you.
Yeah, you're creating global warming. Knock that off.
Knock it off,
Yeah.
right? So that's the color pie. Ron, that's the quick look
It's
at
the
it.
quick and dirty.
And absolutely. So we could have done an episode on each of these, but we wanted to give you a broad stroke.
Ooh, yeah.
By now, you should be starting to identify with one of these colors, right? A few of these colors should be identifying. That's how I am. Ooh, I like that playstyle. Those mechanics.
Mix and match
Mix
too.
and match. So that's the core philosophy of the game. So we want to talk about how to play the game. What's called archetypes. So when you play the game, what is the strategy that you're going to be employing?
Okay.
The reoccurring deck strategy across many formats. Right?
And this is very meta narrative,
Yeah.
whereas the philosophies is more like, how am I in relation to the game? This is more like, how do I play how do I personally play the game?
Exactly.
What am I looking to do?
There's some players who say philosophy, whatever,
Right.
and you're probably at this point like, how do I play the game?
That's a red
What are
player.
the styles? Okay, tell me how I play the game. And the first one, it's called aggro.
Oh,
This is the go fast.
Yeah.
Aggro decks want to kill the opponent as quickly as possible.
just get it done.
Get it done. They will often sacrifice powerful effects, which are like high mana cost things or long-term strategies for simple, repeatable, need to answer effects. So this will play like creature aggro decks. Typically play something turn 1.
So you're a big fan of this.
I
take
love
it.
aggro.
Yeah.
You know, I have a goblin deck.
Yeah.
Goblins, you play them, they multiply, they attack fast, quick. You
yeah.
gotta answer 'em.
I'd say most of your decks are pretty aggro,
Pretty aggro.
aggressive.
Get it, filling the board and doing a lot of damage quickly. I'm trying to get the game over. I want to play another one.
Yeah. Quantity over quality a little bit there.
Quality aggro. Well,
Quality.
as an aggro player, I'd say fast games are
And
very,
quantity?
very quality.
I'm confused now. What's the next one?
And so what you'll see in these archetypes is across formats, which we'll get into. Formats are different ways that you
Okay.
can use the cards to play with certain rules, but across formats, certain colors will stand out for this. So aggro, you'll often see red. go fast, attack quick, do damage. You also see white a lot because white has a lot of small creatures that can get out there and win combat pretty well. So up next you have mid-range. And mid-range decks are all about big, hard to kill threats. They're slow out of the gate, but they tend to take over turn 4 or 5. That turn will vary by formats, but they turn like that mid, and they're going to take over. They're going to have something chunky that you got to deal with.
Right. Sometimes they'll bring battle cruisers. Sometimes they'll build up their tokens or their board in order to do damage and hold out against those aggro decks.
It's going to take a little time, but once they get there, what I like the wiki said is like throws haymakers. Big, 1 or 2 big creatures are boom.
Just showstoppers.
Whoa.
Just, all right, we're done now.
We're taking over. This is my game now.
Yes.
So after that, you have control. And control decks, they don't care about winning. Wait, that's weird. They don't winning? Oh, at first.
At first.
They don't care about winning at first.
So they're the lazy river of.
They're built around
playing.
answering and disrupting whatever you do. So,
Sounds annoying.
yeah, well, it can be annoying. It can be annoying to play against, fun to play.
Yeah?
That's why we're talking about
is
this.
that
Maybe there are some players that really like
Oh.
being controlling, answering everything, right? Those blue players, as we like to call them. So
Who?
mid-range, you'll
me.
often see mid-range will have a lot of green stuff. Those chunky creatures that'll take time to build up.
Green's mid-range?
Get them out, right?
Yeah.
Again, this will vary, but you'll see green as a core thread of a lot of mid-range decks.
Okay.
Green, blue can often have some mid-range threats. So control this. I'm going to disrupt, drain your resources slowly over the game, and then protect mine. And then once you're out of cards, my turn to take over.
Classic war of attrition. Just wear them down until the most obvious in control person wins.
It's time to go for the kill. You don't have a hand, killed your creatures, boom, time to go.
That's it.
And it's often have extremely powerful or resilient threat that opponent just has no hope.
Yeah.
They just don't have any hope anymore if you killed all their stuff, right?
Just crush their hope.
Crush their hope. And so we'll often see blue. Blue is like, that is control, right? The counter spells, that magic stop. Black is really high on control because black can look in your hand, take cards from it. Black can destroy creatures,
Nasty.
right?
Yeah.
So black and blue are often controlling.
All right. Yeah.
And the last format we have here is combo. Combo decks are a lot like control decks, right? They get the job done with the unique interaction of cards that intend to win the game immediately, typically by going infinite. So I'm going to play this card, and this card, and they're going to create a loop that kill you on the spot.
That's going infinite. Is
That's going in.
creating an infinite amount of
This loop,
resources.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
It's like making a machine that you just crank and it shoots machine gun bullets, but you made it out of like weird medieval magical artifacts and stuff.
So you're gonna have maybe a few specific cards in the game.
Yes.
That you're over the course of the game you're using control strategies.
Okay, so it's building on to control a little bit.
You're using these control strategies to last long enough to employ your insta kill button. Dead.
Yeah, just nuke.
Boom. Dead.
Game over. All right.
And so these are the 4 like core gameplay strategies, right? And combo varies across format, but again, blue, right? And it can be like whatever combo exists in the current format. So that color will vary from format. There's white combos, right? That combo with artifacts, which artifacts are mostly don't have color, so colorless. But there are combos that exist in all of the colors and across colors. But combo will often have those blue and black elements to get them to that win. So
that one. Gotcha.
again, this is an overview here. Maybe we got some things wrong about these, or you're like, you didn't mention that combo, you didn't mention that color. Let us know, right? But I wanted to zoom in here to say, like, for the players that are more mechanically focused,
Yes.
and
As opposed to philosophically or like aesthetically.
right, okay, what am I gonna play? And so we're gonna end here by talking about going back to a little bit of the philosophical, but like
Yes.
psychological. And
Yes.
Wizards created what was called the player psychographics.
Oh.
Tell us a little bit about those.
The Wizards of the Coast made this. It's an abstract way, like that's how we've been talking about these sort of aspects of Magic, is the very abstract way of how people play the game. It's, like you said, more of a psychological perspective, and it comes with a bunch of fun names as opposed to like colors or weird meta terms that someone made up somewhere along the way. This was observed behaviors in the wild of Magic that someone sat down at a tournament and was like, you know, these people are like this, and these people are like this, and where's the line here? And oh, some of these people are a mix of the two. And so, getting into it, the first one is Timmy, which is, all right, Tim.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Why that name? We don't know. But this characterizes the sort of person that looks for large, exciting plays. They want to put down those green cards that have
Chonkers.
13-13, those chonkers, those huge power plays. The most associated with playing for fun. So like, I'm just here to have fun. I'm gonna put down cards and blow stuff up and see what happens. You know. All kinds of huge creatures, fantastic spells. It seems to be the most social of these archetypes or stereotypes.
Definitely confirm this, right?
Yeah.
We got a Timmy player in our group.
Oh.
Vine, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what the social comes out is like, okay, I lost, but did you see that?
Yeah.
Look what I did. I made this 500, and I know you killed it. But wasn't that cool? Let me tell you about it.
Just talking up all the plays and talking through the game, like, oh, I loved how it went like this, that, and if you would have played it at this card at a different time, this would have happened. And whether they win or lose, they're just having a good time. But they want to have fun playing those really big effects. They want to stand out. They want to do whatever it is that their deck is made to do. They want to do it, and as much as possible. These are the Timmy type of players. They have subtypes as well, which is, I guess, I don't know if this is Magic, Wizards of the Coast specifically adding this on, or if it's just more like meta talk type stuff.
It's just because there's only three categories. They wanted to like give more options for players. So
Dive
maybe
in.
this aspect of being a Timmy will stand out to you a little more. Right.
So no Timmy is all of these things, but there might be a Timmy or two out there that are every single one of these, which some might be contradictory, but it's power gamers, so people who just want the most powerful stuff on the board. They want to be just blowing everybody out of the water. There's social gamers, which is the people that just are there for the social occasion, talking about the game. They like the game and talking about it. Diversity gamers, which you'll have to refresh me on this one. I don't.
These are the players that like have a bunch of decks.
Variety.
A variety of.
I'm a little bit of one of these. Yeah, I love my variety.
You're not gonna catch them playing the same deck over and over
No.
often, or you're gonna, like this next category,
Variance gamers.
you're gonna have someone with a deck that plays differently each time, right?
Right.
So.
And then last but not least in the Timmy category are the griefers. These are the people that want to cause others pain, if you will. They
Want to ruin your fun.
Yeah, their fun is ruining everyone else's fun. This isn't necessarily cheating, but using the game mechanics in ways that people might not find the most agreeable.
Land destruction, discard, removing cards from your hands, things like that.
Yeah, just the most vile strategies possible, but I feel like we're all a little bit of a griefer deep down inside sometimes.
A little pleasure.
A little bit. They got it coming. And so that's Timmy. Good old Timmy. And then following up on that is Johnny. Ooh, Johnnies are the complexity, like galaxy-brained, like labyrinthine construction. They take they take cards, and how they are creative is they build these machines. They're most commonly known as combo players. Sometimes choose elaborate but inefficient ways of winning the game. And that's that like machine building. Like they see the effects on the cards, they don't see the art, they don't see anything else. They just see how they come together to, like 14 cards I've played in a row, do enough damage to kill everyone.
Sometimes they do see the art though, because sometimes it's like, this art is weird and bad. How do I play it and make it good? So sometimes it's like they pick like the bad cards or the niche cards and try to make them good.
All right, yeah, and build just this huge thing around them. And where was I? Oh, they, like you said, may seek niche cards and try to break them, which is take them and make them good.
Make them good.
They're happiest when their decks work and they win their way. For them, one win out of many games leaves them happy if that win is on their own terms.
That they're supposed to do.
If they broke that card, they did that thing, it's like, I won in my own way.
I won in my strategy.
Right.
All right, last one here at the top of the hour. Can I take Spike? That's the Spike in the room.
Oh, why not?
Okay.
You know.
So before, good fun, good show. So before we wrap up here, this one went a little longer, so this is going to be a two-part episode. So stay tuned next week.
Stay tuned.
But first, let's talk about Spike. And Spikes are the characters, the players with the competitive nature, and they play primarily to prove how good they are.
Oh, a lot of tournament players are
A lot of
Spikes,
tournament players, right? So they're looking at what deck's best, what cards are best in the format, cards that are effective. They want the cards that secure fast, efficient wins. And so the Spikes they could play like several games, lose one of them, and be upset if they were supposed to win that one. I had it.
Real salty fellas.
I was supposed to win that game. Come on. You know, and so what's cool about these Spikes is there's like innovators. They want to find the new best.
Pushing boundaries, yeah.
Tuners, they'll find the decks that are considered the best. They're like, let me tweak this. So you might call those min-maxers in RPGs. Okay, if I take this one card out, add this card, and then I take those out and add in this package instead of that, you're going to hear those for tuners. Or the analysis, you'll hear that a lot. Okay, give me that deck, let me break it down for you, let me give you the statistics. Or the nuts and bolts gamers. And these are the ones, let me focus on being the best player I can be. Let me focus on knowing the rules inside and out. And like you said in the pre-show, the fundamentals.
The fundamentals.
Let me know the fundamentals of
is I can drive that car better than you, even if it's a clunker. I know how to drive it.
I know to drive a stick shift really well.
Yep.
Right.
That's my thing.
That's my thing. So, like we said, we have more to talk about.
Lots more.
This is going to be our first part 2 episode, but just a brief recap. We talked about the color pie philosophies, the philosophy of each of the 5 colors, how it applies to the mechanics in the game, the people playing it, the characters within. We talked about the archetypes. So how are you going to play the game? Go fast, in the middle, slow, insta-win buttons. And we talked about the psychographics of how and why do I play the game.
Right.
And those are the Timmies, Johnnies, and Spikes, right? And what's really cool about these is that they aren't prescriptive, they're descriptive. Meaning, I might be a little Timmy, I might be a little Spike, but it's not mutually exclusive.
There are gradients that you can mix and match to your heart's content. Really, it's just a way for us to categorize things. And what do humans love more than categorizing? Like,
Absolutely.
Nothing.
I have nothing. Well, blue player. Again, you're saying a lot of blue things here.
Am I? I'm sorry.
So as we wrap up here, if you have any questions, please send them to us at shareddiscoveryshow@gmail.com. Twitter is about ready. We'll have that for the next show, but stay tuned for part 2 of why to play Magic. Thanks again to BCTV for having us, allowing us to put on this production. This has been awesome. I'm super excited to keep talking about Magic next episode.
Yeah.
And so, as we sign off, just want to say thank you for joining us. Make sure you have some fun, play some games, be kind to others, and just be awesome. So, Ron, sign us off.
Oh, yes. This is riches must be divided, but real wealth can be shared.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.